All right, everybody, welcome to Crows of Judgment. And today I have my very special avatar thanks to Origami. If any of you are curious, Darth Vader is definitely my favorite character. Um, so today is May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. I know it's cheesy, but I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And if I'm going to always talk about the things that I don't like, it'd be very great to talk about the things that I do like. And in this case, that would be Star Wars. Hold on, real quick. More Soroka commentary, please. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I want to talk about Soroka. We've been compiling a bunch of his bullshit. Let me say a quick word about that because I heard about something new today, and I was sharing in the Discord group. Hold on, let me see if I can pull that up. Should be right over here. So yeah, there's this crazy thing. Let me pull this up. We'll talk about this really quick, but then I want to talk about Star Wars. I've been dying to talk about Star Wars. Yeah, Sorokovid's coming. No way, Soroka got doxxed? No, no. What a did he dox himself? Honestly, I only asked that because I've seen like 4 videos where this idiot says his full name and his address. And one of those is when he live streamed himself calling the cops and gave the cops his address and then ended the live stream after giving his address out to everybody. I Did he do it to himself again? How many times has he doxed himself? Oh my gosh. All right. Let's see. Because I'm officially still account locked on Twitter. I don't want to use my new Twitters on the laptop just in case. I don't want to get that one suspended. So let me share this and we'll read it. Because I saw this today and I was like, "There's no way this guy did this shit to himself again." Hold on. Let's see. Okay, so here we go. When you sign up to promote this line of clothing, you get your own webpage like this one. This is where James Soroka got his free jacket he never promoted. Apparently, he's messaging other promoters claiming to be the boss of Kenzu Streetwear, pulling another scam, or flirting. Yeah, so I guess he's claiming to be the boss of Kenzu Streetwear now, so he can get more money from people, which probably shouldn't surprise anybody. Yeah, he doxed himself, guys. Let's be honest. He totally doxed himself. Ah, no. No, Soroka, stop hurting yourself, buddy. Stop hurting yourself. Ah, boy. Oh, boy. Look, guys, I gotta say, it's fun talking about Soroka. It really is. But it's Star Wars Day, isn't it? It's Star Wars Day. Don't you guys want to talk about Star Wars? I do. I do. I've been wanting to talk about Star Wars for a long time. There's so much news around Star Wars always. And one of the things I saw was there was this article from Downing into Comics, and I wanted to go through it because this is really disappointing. And I remember when they were talking about Galaxy's Edge. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's the Star Wars studio, Star Wars theme park for Disney. And originally, I guess they were actually planning to make it themed around Tatooine, which would have been awesome, which would have been legitimately awesome. But unfortunately, it looks like Kathleen Kennedy stepped in and got that taken away from us, which is very sad. And there's actually been a bunch of Star Wars news, actually. Here, let's see. Which one do we want to go through first? These are all negative, unfortunately. But let's get through all the bad stuff so we can talk about the good stuff, like the Clone Wars, which I don't know if any of you have been watching Clone Wars, but legitimately, it has been probably the best Star Wars in a long time. Mandalorian was great as well. But if you paid attention to the final arc of Clone Wars, it's just so good. It is so good. Hold on one second here. Unfortunately, all my searches go through Yahoo, which sucks. I think here it is. Okay, let me share this with you guys because I want everyone's opinion on it because I saw this and it was really disappointing for me. Hold on. Oh, yeah. This one I love. Star Wars book downplays Luke Skywalker's heroics. Jin did everything that mattered. Now, I love Rogue One. I think Rogue One was a great movie. For those of you who do not know, Rogue One is like a prequel to. Okay, hold on. Let me just address this. Yeah, we will talk about Soroka on Sunday. This stream is not about James Soroka. It's all about Star Wars. We will definitely go more into Soroka, guys. There is so much bullshit around that guy, and it is legitimately depressing and hilarious at the same time. So I kind of want to laugh. I kind of want to cry. And today I want to feel good and maybe a little bit of anger, but like dark side anger, like Sith anger, not Soroka pervy into child stuff, sharing nudes with kids anger. There's two different types of angers there, folks. But we will talk about Soroka on Sunday. There's always something new about that guy, and it is I don't understand how this person I don't understand how he functions. I really don't, and it is mind-boggling to me. It really is. So, real quick, let's talk about this. For those of you who don't know, Rogue One essentially covers the plans to destroy the Death Star, like getting that over to the Republic. It ends where A New Hope begins, right? And I think it has one of the best scenes in Star Wars. That would be the scene where Vader is in the hallway and he just rips through the rebels, like tears them apart. It is brutal, and you can just see how desperate they are to get away from him. They're totally terrified of him. They're trying to hold him back. Man, it's some of the best Star Wars. It really is. Now, the thing about that movie, as good as it is, it's not like needed, right? So I saw this, right? And I guess this comes out in one of the Star Wars books. And let's just read the quote. Jyn Erso, she began because if they didn't, the rest of the story would be meaningless. The woman who started it all and destroyed the Death Star, the first one, the real one, I mean. General Skywalker and Red Squadron destroyed the Death Star, Nass said. Skywalker fired the last shot was all. Jyn did everything that mattered. And yeah. So for those of you who don't know, there's been a trend with Star Wars where they take they basically take Luke Skywalker and they downplay everything that he does in the franchise. And I'm not, God damn it, I'm not so much talking about The Last Jedi, which hurt. The Last Jedi hurt. I'm talking about them taking taking his accomplishment, taking his achievements, and downplaying the fuck out of him, making him kind of pathetic in every single way, shape, and form. And even here, right? Look, I love A New Hope. Most of us love A New Hope, but it's like the stuff that comes that he does. They basically go like right here. He just fired the last shot. Getting in tune with the Force, blowing up the Death Star. Well, that really wasn't him. It was all these other people in the background that they retcon in. 30-something years later. That's what actually mattered. The first movie that starts it all off. That just ignore that. I really do hate that. It's one of those things I really don't like about Disney Star Wars. It's where they basically take a giant shit over everything that came before it. I get it. You want to promote something new. I get that you want to, reach out to new generation. You really don't do that by going back and taking a giant dump on what came before it, especially when that's what people love. And Star Wars was old by the time I was a kid, right? By the time I first watched A New Hope, I was 15 or something, and the movie was outdated as far as like CGI and everything. But it was a great fucking film. A New Hope is amazing. Empire Strikes Back is amazing. And all of this is, it's Luke's journey. Seeing how he is in Return of the Jedi, where he's kind of, I know I'm going to piss off real Star Wars fans here too, where he's kind of become a master, right? When Return of the Jedi pops up and he just has full control over himself. I love that. I really do. The final scene with Vader and the Emperor, it's great. It really is. And you can tell Luke is incredible. And, as someone who's read a lot of I guess they call it the Legacy universe now, the things that Luke goes on to do are really impressive, right? And the fact that they took all of that and they basically took a giant dump on it and said, oh, well, he doesn't become the Grand Master of New Order. I guess technically he does, but then he lets them all die and then he tries to murder his nephew. So that's depressing and soul sucking, really soul sucking. But it's the fact that in the Legacy universe after the films, he goes on to found the new Jedi Order. He becomes a Jedi Grandmaster. He gets these new all these apprentices, all these Padawans. His family. He has a wife. He has children. Han and Leia have multiple kids. It works for me, right? Because everything you see in the prequel films with Anakin not being able to be with Padme because the Jedi don't allow for that stuff, you can tell that the Jedi Order in the prequel films is incredibly flawed, right? And we'll talk about that later. But when you actually jump into the Legacy universe, Luke does everything right. He's willing to accept human emotions and everything. He's willing to accept having a family. Those things are still important to him, and he manages to become one of the greatest. Far more, I would say, far more powerful than anything Anakin. He basically stops a fucking black hole with force powers. It's really cool shit. And to see Disney basically not recognize Luke Skywalker for what he's supposed to become and instead turn him into this grouchy old piece of shit. God damn it, The Last Jedi is just a terrible film. Where was I going with this shit? Oh boy, so sad. Oh, I like this quote. What color would your lightsaber be? Oh, I don't think that it would be red because I don't think I would do the necessary evilness to bleed Kyber crystal. So I want to say purple because I want to be a badass who uses the dark side for good, but probably blue because my favorite color is blue next to red. And then I would turn it red because eventually I would go evil. Origami says red. I think I'd have a blue one and then it would become red because I would abuse it. I'd be showing it off all the time and it would be very sad. It will bleed itself dead. I'm not a good owner. Let's just be very clear here. Origami can attest to this. But yeah, poor Luke. I will give spoiler warnings before we go into the Clone Wars stuff. Do not worry. Anyways, I don't like all the massive dumping that they do on the old stuff. And it seems like a large part of that is they don't respect what came before it. So here's the article. Former Walt Disney World Vice President claims Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy killed Tatooine-themed Star Wars land. And this is depressing. So I don't know how to say this in a very positive, nice way, but like, what the fuck were they thinking, right? So essentially, if you read through the article, what they talk about is that they had all this concept art, they had all this stuff done and ready to put into Galaxy's Edge. Right, we're talking years of development that they put into this. They were going to situate in Tatooine. It was going to be all connected to the prequel films and the original trilogy. And what winds up happening is Kathleen Kennedy apparently steps in and says, why would we want to make a theme park for 40-something-year-olds and not focus on what we have coming in store for the new generation? The new generation of fans that don't exist because we couldn't tell good stories and we shit all over what came before it. Why wouldn't we want to make a theme park for fans that don't exist and never will exist because our movies were awful, except for Rogue One. Rogue One gets a pass from me. Oh boy, this is the saddest article to read because it's like you could have connected people to what came before it and then built from there, but instead they were so obsessed with tearing down all the greatness that came before. Right? Look at how popular Clone Wars is for an animated series. Right? It's animated Star Wars, and it's some of the best Star Wars because Dave Filoni, and regardless of what that guy's personal opinions on stuff are, the guy's a real fan, right? And rather than taking a series and basically saying, I can do Star Wars better, and I can reach out to a new generation of fans, he goes to the prequel films and he builds from there, right? He goes and takes the clones and he humanizes them. Instead of them being this faceless army, they're essentially droids, right? They're just sent off to be slaughtered. Dave Filoni goes ahead and says, I'm going to take that and I'm going to build on it. And he makes some of the best characters. Captain Rex is one of the greatest Star Wars characters. I don't care what anyone has to say. And, we're going to go into Clone Wars spoilers here in a little bit. So we'll probably talk about that for, I want to say 20-ish minutes because I really want to rank the Star Wars films. But Captain Rex is one of the best Star Wars characters to me. He's incredibly loyal. He trusts the Jedi. And you can see he goes from someone who strictly follows order, strictly follows protocol. And it's in all this time he has working with Ahsoka and working with Anakin, he becomes his own man, right? And the voice actor for the clones, I'm terrible with names, so I do apologize. I'm never going to remember anyone's names here. Don't like Mark Hamill is the one that I'll be good with. But the voice actor for the clones is incredible, and he brings life into all these different clones, even though they're all like the same individual. They're all very incredibly unique. And I absolutely love these last 4 episodes that they had for the Clone Wars because I mean, it's heartbreaking what you see happening with Rex, right? So let's start with the first episode of this 4-episode arc that ties directly into Revenge of the Sith. I just want to give my thoughts on it before we move on to the rest. When Ahsoka comes back, right, and you see Anakin and her react, that I absolutely loved. And a lot of people ask, like, well, why does Ahsoka have the blue lightsabers? Because she's supposed to have green lightsabers. Well, it's because Anakin makes them blue. And, Dave Filoni basically comments on that. And he says, well, first off, he's smart enough to know how to tinker with it to turn the crystal from green to blue. Now, I say, I think you're messing with things a little bit, but I do like the overall reasoning behind it, which is that Anakin is overprotective, right? He really is. It's one of his major flaws is that he wants to protect everyone. He wants to become more powerful to protect the people that he loves, and it eventually leads to his downfall. But that interaction that they have together before Anakin goes off and Revenge of the Sith starts, it's very beautiful because you can tell how close these two characters are. Hey, Jay, man, how you doing, buddy? I'm talking about Clone Wars, so I'm spoiling the last 4 episode arc. So if you don't want to see that, don't keep watching. Anyways, the interaction they have together is really beautiful, and I love the relationship that Ahsoka has with Anakin. And when the Clone Wars started, I really hated Ahsoka as a character. I thought she was really annoying. I thought the idea of Anakin having a Padawan just made absolutely no sense given what happens with him. But they make it work. They really do. She starts off as bratty, as really annoying, and she actually has tremendous character growth, and it makes sense, right? So we go into the Siege of Mandalore. And the entire Siege of Mandalore is so fun, right? It's actually really great to see this giant combat situation. It was disappointing because I really did want to see another interaction between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan. And obviously, Kenobi and Anakin cannot be a part of this because they are off in episode 3 right now, right? And so Ahsoka goes. They take over Mandalore essentially, right? They go hunting down Darth Maul, and the first episode ends with Ahsoka essentially. She's their commander again. Captain Rex gets promoted to commander, and they rout out Darth Maul, and they try to get to him. They chase down the evil Mandalorians, I guess, the ones who are subservient to Darth Maul, and they go into the sewers, and they get like wasted, right? They get totally taken down. Ahsoka then winds up in a trap, and Darth Maul appears, right? And he's like, where's Kenobi? and I love that because he is so obsessed with getting his revenge against Kenobi, or at least that's what you think is going on. Because then we go into the second episode. He basically has this brief interaction with her. The rest of the clones show up because Ahsoka is able to alert them, and it kind of breaks from there, right? After Darth Maul it goes ahead and says the name Darth Sidious, right? Which is really key. So he reveals that his master is called Darth Sidious to Ahsoka. So they wind up breaking from there. The clones show up. Darth Maul escapes with the rest of the Mandalorians. They all go back to the palace with the good Mandalorians, good Mandos and bad Mandos. So they're back in the palace with the good Mandos, and they contact Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so Kenobi basically tells them that Darth Sidious is kind of behind all of this. And it's really good because they have so many tie-ins to the movies at this point. So Kenobi reveals that the first time he's heard Darth Sidious's name was from Count Dooku, which is true because this happens in episode 2. And then he reveals that Anakin has killed Count Dooku, which is really cool because then you realize, well, the reason why Darth Sidious wanted Anakin to kill Dooku in episode 3, it's not so much about turning Anakin to the dark side, right? Which is, originally, that's what I thought, right? It's because Dooku knows who he is. And I love that they kind of explain that to you in that moment, because then Kenobi says, well, any information we could have gained from him is lost now, which makes capturing Darth Maul so essential at this point, right? Because if they can capture Darth Maul, if Darth Maul can reveal who Darth Sidious is, it ends everything that's supposed to happen, right? So episode 2 goes on, and they are convinced they need to capture Darth Maul. They go to interrogate the underling of Darth Maul, the minister of Mandalore, evil prick, who's being held in a prison cell, and he reveals that Darth Maul had this vision. He's not trying to escape Mandalore. He's trying to do something else because he's had this vision, right? And he won't reveal who he wants, who Darth Maul is trying to get. Obviously, he reveals that Kenobi, he's obsessed with Kenobi, but he's obsessed with one other individual. Before he can say the name, he gets shot by one of the bad Mandos who sneaks into the prison. The bad Mando is able to escape, and the minister finally reveals that it's Skywalker. Darth Maul is trying to get Skywalker to come to Mandalore. And now I'm pretty sure you understand why that's important, right? So Darth Maul, happens at nighttime, goes to the palace, right? He gets all the bad Mandos to wage open warfare in the city with the good Mandos, right? So they're having this battle outside. Darth Maul gets Ahsoka to basically have this private chat with him. Now, obviously, there's some other stuff that happens there. But in that chat, he asks Ahsoka to join him. And it's very tense in that moment. The animation is super crisp. It looks amazing. And basically, like, Maul gets Ahsoka to agree to work with him, which is beautiful, right? And you can see that... Oh, hold on. I got to highlight this. Oh my, Maul's obsessed with the man who split him in half with his lightsaber. Yeah, like, I know a lot of people were kind of upset when Darth Maul got brought back to life for the Clone Wars, but the Clone Wars did so many good things for that character. Darth Maul is incredible. And in this moment with Ahsoka, you can tell he's terrified of Sidious. He is terrified of Sidious. Earlier on in the series, Sidious kills his brother after they both try to fight with him. And Sidious not only kills his brother, but beats Maul so badly, Maul is begging him to spare him. And of course, Sidious enjoys that and electrocutes the hell out of him because, Sidious is a prick. But in that moment, he's asking Ahsoka to join him, and Ahsoka says yes. And you can tell, like, the way that Darth Maul talks about his former master, he talks about, like, how he's everywhere, how he's in the shadows, and his eyes are, like, darting around, like he's expecting Sidious to, like, pop out of the shadows and shank him or something. And it's really cool. So Ahsoka then asks him, right before that, she wants to know why Maul wants Anakin Skywalker there. And, Maul reveals that he is the destroyer. He's been groomed by Sidious to be his new apprentice. And he wants to, obviously, because he's Darth Maul, he doesn't see very many other ways of handling things. He wants to kill Anakin Skywalker. He wants to kill Anakin before Sidious can turn him over to his apprentice, and which would make him unstoppable, right? And he realizes, Dooku's a pawn, he's a pawn. They've all been being manipulated. He wants to basically stand up to his former master by killing Anakin, which, when you think about it, would make sense. Right? It does make sense if you're Darth Maul to take out the new apprentice before Sidious can turn him. Now, Ahsoka hears this, and she basically, I don't know if you can say she's outraged, but she doesn't believe him. She doesn't believe anything that he is saying. She even says his vision is flawed, and they get into one of the best lightsaber duels, period. Right, I'm a huge fan of the lightsaber duel that takes place in Revenge of the Sith between Kenobi and Anakin, but this one between Darth Maul and Ahsoka is beautiful to watch. It is some of the best action that I have ever seen. It takes place in the animated Clone Wars, and it just works so well. So they actually brought in the original Darth Maul to do motion capture, and there are so many callbacks to the Phantom Menace there. In fact, the original the stance that he takes is the stance that he takes right before he fights with Qui-Gon and Kenobi in Episode 1. It's beautiful. Like, it really is. That entire battle between Ahsoka and Darth Maul, it is so good. Like, if you're going to get Disney Plus for anything, it should be to watch that lightsaber duel. And I'm not kidding. It is that good. And it basically, there's a lot of people are saying, well, Darth Maul should be able to just school Ahsoka Tano. And I don't disagree with that, right? And you can actually see Darth Maul kind of, his problem is he's arrogant, right? And he likes to play with his food. So he could end Ahsoka, but he's not trying to. He's trying to basically dominate her in the fight, humiliate her. And if you've ever read the novelization for Phantom Menace, which I don't blame you if you didn't, because Phantom Menace really isn't that good. I believe it's actually in that book. You read that he was trying to humiliate Qui-Gon in their duel, and he was frustrated that Qui-Gon was able to do so well in their duel. He wanted to humiliate Qui-Gon. He wanted to best him. And I think he was trying to do that same thing with Ahsoka. But Ahsoka, remember, she is trained by Anakin Skywalker. And Anakin Skywalker, he is no slouch when it comes to being a lightsaber duelist. He defeats Dooku, right? He defeats Dooku in lightsaber combat, which is incredible because Dooku is one of the best duelists, period. So she is trained by Anakin. She is good. She knows what she is doing. She's at least able to hold her own against Darth Maul. Anyways, they wind up going through this whole thing. Darth Maul eventually just decides he's going to escape. He abandons the bad Mandos that are loyal to him, and Ahsoka hunts him down. And Ahsoka is able to stop him from escaping. She uses his own power against him in a really cool judo-style move. And she uses the Force basically to keep Darth Maul from falling to his death. Darth Maul wants to die in this moment, right? Because he knows what's about to happen. He knows what's about to happen. He does not want to be captured because he knows Sidious is about to take over. And the clones show up. And they used the stun feature, which I thought was great because I don't think, and I could be wrong here, I'm trying to remember an episode of the Clone Wars where they actually used the stun feature on their weapons. Because for the most part, they kill people with them, right? I think maybe one episode where they're trying to capture a bad Jedi, do they use the stun guns? But they use it, they stun Darth Maul, they capture him, right? And in episode 3 of this arc, you basically see they've got Darth Maul locked up in this really wicked prison device, right? It's really cool. Let me see if I can. I'll try to see if I can find an image for it. But they basically got him locked up, and he looks like he's Hannibal Lecter. He's got his mouth covered and everything, and he just see out of this little tiny visor. And the entire time you see Darth Maul in that device, he looks like he's just waiting for something to happen, right? The music that's playing is really creepy. It's really dark. It's like you can tell that something bad is about to happen. And you know something bad is about to happen because we are in Revenge of the Sith, right? So they take him onto the ship. Ahsoka is on the transport. They're going to take Darth Maul to the Jedi Council. They're going to figure everything out. And there's this meeting that's happening, right? It's a meeting with Yoda, with Mace Windu, and I forget the name of the other members of the Jedi Council. But the meeting takes place from the Revenge of the Sith movie, where they're talking about how they are going to essentially remove Palpatine from office if he does not surrender his emergency powers. Because obviously Dooku is dead. Grievous is being hunted down. It is the end of the war at this point, and Palpatine has too much power. And we all know why, right? The Council knows something is not right about this guy. And so in the movie, they talk about removing him from power. Yoda says the line, a dark path, this will take us down a dark path, essentially. That's where it swipes away in the movie. But they keep the movie, they keep that conversation going, and Ahsoka walks in. And in this moment, right, if Ahsoka just states that that Anakin is being groomed by Sidious, that is what Darth Maul has told her, we could end this, right? Someone would have gone with him to Palpatine's office in that moment where Palpatine reveals himself to be a Sith Lord. And we could have avoided everything bad that happens. We could avoid Darth Vader being made altogether. But Mace Windu, the absolute jackass that he is, basically tells her to buzz off. She's a citizen. She's not privy to any information. And she says, well, she basically keeps the information to herself, right? She wants to talk to Anakin in that moment. She wants to warn Anakin of what's going on. But because of Mace Windu being a massive asshole, she keeps it to herself. And Yoda can tell something's wrong. And he calls her a Padawan, right? Because to him, Ahsoka is still a member of the Order. She's a Jedi, even if she's left the Order. That's the way that I would interpret that scene. But that's basically it. Then there's a conversation on the bridge between Ahsoka and Rex, in which they both basically state how they're created by this war. You know, Ahsoka says she was created. She became a Jedi to be a defender, and all she's ever known is being a soldier. And that's one of the main problems of the Jedi Order in the prequel films. They're soldiers, and they're not supposed to be soldiers. They should never have taken part in the Clone Wars, but they did because they served the Republic. And it led to their downfall. The Jedi should have never taken part in the Clone Wars. And, you know, Yoda knows that was wrong. I think most of the Jedi knew that they shouldn't have done that, and that it clouded their judgment, and that it allowed them to fall to the dark side. Anyways, not neither here nor there, right? They're having this conversation, and Rex says that, you know, he doesn't like the war, but without the war, him and his brothers would have never been created. And so Ahsoka says the line that at least that's one good thing that came out of it, right? And that is the worst part, because you know what's about to happen. You know it. And so Captain Rex gets called away because they basically say, like, there's another briefing from command. And it's in this moment, Ahsoka says it's probably more good news. And it is just terrible to hear that, because right then and there, Order 66 is issued, right? Ahsoka gets this terrible feeling. They use actual audio from Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin basically chops off Mace Windu's hands. Palpatine electrocutes Mace Windu. She can feel it in the Force, probably because of her connection to Anakin, that something is wrong, right? And she like gets this terrible headache. It's kind of like when the Death Star destroyed Alderaan, and Kenobi is like, I feel a disturbance in the Force, as if a billion voices cried out in terror, and then were suddenly silenced, yada, yada, yada. She basically has that reaction. And she goes to tell Captain Rex what's going on, and you can see Rex is trying to fight the order that he has just been given. The rest of the clones are given the same order through their helmets, and they are all activated at this point. Rex tells the clones who are pointing their guns at Ahsoka that he'll handle it, to put their weapons down, right? He's going to be the one to do it. And he's struggling, right? He gives her the final message that he's able to do to to find fives, right? And I'll explain why in just a second here. But he tells her to find fives before losing himself, and open fires on Ahsoka. Ahsoka winds up fighting against the clones, and everything goes to hell, right? She's able to escape. She goes to Maul, who's about to be executed, and she frees Maul. And Maul is like, will you give me a fighting chance? You know, give me one of your lightsabers. And she goes, I'm not rooting for you. Go create chaos. Basically, she's using Maul as a distraction. And it's pretty cold. But remember, Darth Maul is a piece of shit. So it's kind of fun seeing her set Maul loose like a rabid dog to go fight the clones so that she can escape. And there is there's a callback to Rogue One. They do the hallway scene with Darth Maul, against the clones, and he is absolutely brutal even without a lightsaber. He's ripping up floor panels from the floor. He's beheading the clones. He's using them as shields. He does the force lift into the ceiling with one of them. It's beautiful to watch, right? Because you can just tell how absolutely badass Maul is. And at one point, the clones are trying to get away from him. And so they go to seal one of the doors, and he force pulls one of their arms through the doors and gets it chopped off so he can use the communicator to let him know what the clones are up to. Ahsoka tries to sneak into the med bay. She's able to capture Rex, right? She activates these droids. The droids knock out Rex. They go to the med bay, and there's another callback to Rogue One in that moment where she's saying, "I'm one with the Force is with me." She links up to Rex, and they're able to locate the inhibitor chip, right? And the reason why is because Rex gave her the knowledge to look into Fives, who was another clone, who was able to reveal the conspiracy. Fives had a buddy, and that buddy had his chip activate. His chip activated early, like it got damaged or something, and he went insane. I think it was around season 5 when this happened. And he offs a Jedi because he's executing Order 66 in that moment. So Fives finds out. Fives reveals that he thinks something was wrong with his friend who went insane, or at least they thought he went insane. And he has a meeting with the Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, and Palpatine basically reveals everything that's about to happen. Fives goes kind of crazy and manic because he understands that they are all about to betray the Jedi. And before he can tell everybody what's about to happen, he gets killed. Captain Rex was there in the moment that he died. And so he thought that there was something off about the chips that were in their heads. But of course, he was being a good soldier and he was obeying orders. And he never really acts on it. He never removes the chip from his head. So when Order 66 is issued, he knows something's wrong. He gives the information to Ahsoka to look into Fives, and she captures Rex. They remove the chip, and the episode ends with Rex shooting the other clones as they're trying to break into the med bay to kill her. And, he's kind of like, "I almost killed you, kid." And he tells her that the order has been issued. The entire army of the Republic is about to murder the Jedi, or they're already doing it. So that's where the episode ends. Episode 4, right? At this point is Captain Rex, or at this point is Commander Rex, and Ahsoka. They're being hunted down by the clones, right? They're in the med bay. The clones are about to break through the doors. All hell is breaking loose. Maul is on the loose, and everybody is trying to escape the clones, right? Hey, 531 DT5A, I am spoiling the last episode of the Clone Wars right now. So if you don't want to watch that, you feel free to tune out. I totally get it. So they're trying to escape. And obviously they get out of the med bay. They're trying to find a ship to get out with. And all of the clones are there, right? All of the clones go to the basically go to the docking bay. And Maul does the sickest shit, and he destroys the hyperdrive, right? And he destroys it by basically force pulling it down into themselves, right? He uses the force to basically rip these things out of the walls, and the ship that they're in, right, the transport ship that they're in, leaves hyperspace and winds up being pulled into a moon, right? It stops right before it, right in front of this moon, and the transport ship is pulled into the gravitational pull of this moon. So they're all about to crash and die, right? They are all about to crash and die. Screw Order 66. Get to Order 69. Get an orgy going. Yeah, that would have been better than Order 66. It would have been. So the ship that they are on is about to crash into this moon. Rex is like, we need to kill kill the clones. They're going to kill us. He is, and Ahsoka says, I'm not going to kill them. And he says something about how they're not going to extend the same courtesy. And so Ahsoka removes Rex's helmet, and you can see Rex is crying because his own brothers are trying to kill him. They've been activated. They're betraying everything that they're supposed to be standing for, and he's hurt by it. And he doesn't know what to do other than to keep being a soldier. And, she basically says, you're a good soldier, and so are they. And I'm not going to kill them because they're not at fault here. If they're going to die trying to kill me, I'm still not going to kill them. She has him put his weapons on stun. And even though they're about to crash into a planet, even though all of them are about to die, she won't be the one to kill them. Even though, and you can kind of say like it's meaningless at that point to hold to your values, but she does so anyways. And I think that makes Ahsoka a really great character, because obviously they know that they are going to die, right? They know that the odds are completely stacked against them, but she will not betray her values in that moment, which is great. It really is. And that's why I said Yoda earlier in this arc, he still sees her as a Jedi because she still is a Jedi. Even if she doesn't want to call herself a Jedi, she exemplifies what the Jedi are supposed to be. So she has another idea. And I think is really good because you think when Order 66 is executed, all the clones become mindless, right? They basically follow this order to kill. And instead, you see Captain Rex. He takes Ahsoka and pretends that she's a prisoner, right? And the reason why they're doing this is so the droids that they're with can kind of help them out. But he tries to convince the clones that are there that Ahsoka isn't a Jedi because she's renounced the order, right? So he's trying to say she's not a Jedi. You cannot kill her. If you kill her, the clones who are executing Order 66, who are still programmed, they're the ones who are at fault, right? They are not following orders. They're betraying the Republic by trying to kill her and trying to kill him because she isn't a Jedi. And you can kind of see that the other clone, Jesse, who's there, who earlier in the episode, they freed from Darth Maul, that he's thinking about it. And he does for a second, right? And he goes, no, Rex, you gave the order to kill her. You know that you're supposed to kill her, right? Under Order 66, she has to die. We have special orders. She betrayed the Republic. And you can see that Order 66 doesn't just turn them into mindless murder machines. It puts this thought in their heads that the Jedi really have betrayed the Republic, and they are serving the Republic by killing the Jedi. They aren't mindless. The chip has just brainwashed them in this way. And Jesse, for a moment, right, he thinks about it, and he realizes, no, he has to follow the order. He has to, because she has betrayed the Republic. They have to do it. And at this point, they've kept the clones distracted long enough. The droids are able to interfere. There's this big battle that takes place, and I really do like it because you can kind of say that Ahsoka is way too powerful, that she is defying the odds there. But I give it a pass because she's not just volley-whopping through the clones. She isn't. They need to use the droids to interfere with the clones. And she's kind of fighting them in phases, right? So like half of them are dropped down to the lower hangar bay. And she's taken a few good hits. Rex is backing her up. The odds are totally stacked against them anyways. And then Maul shows up. So they're trying to escape onto this ship, and Maul shows up. And Maul gets into the ship, basically says, this is what you wanted, basically gives her all the flack for setting him loose and not giving him a lightsaber earlier, which I'm sure that she probably regrets doing. And either way, I think Darth Maul would have told her to fuck off and left her anyways to die. But Maul leaves in the ship. Maul mauled everyone to death. I mean, dude, I will say this. Darth Maul is a really good character in the Clone Wars. And so she's trying to stop him from leaving in the ship so that her and Rex can escape in it. And she is forced holding that ship in place for the longest time. But by this point, the droids have the droids essentially, they're no good anymore, right? They try to assist, they try to help out, but at this point, it's no good. The clones are on them, and Rex says like there's too many of them, and she realizes that it's just not worth it anymore. She lets Maul go and goes to back Rex up. So the two of them are desperately trying. They drop down to a lower hangar, and at this point, they find another ship. They get into the ship, and it kind of doesn't matter because everything is being destroyed. The ship has broken into the atmosphere of the moon. It's breaking apart. Rex is able to get into a ship, and he tries to get Ahsoka into it too. But the ship, the main ship that they're on, the transport, is just being broken apart into the atmosphere, and everybody is kind of about to die. Right? Rex takes off in the ship. He has a rough launch off. Ahsoka gets sucked off into the open wind, and they do this really great scene where she's running through the debris while flying through it. It's really cool. But they're able to get Ahsoka to safety, obviously. Rex is able to get her into the ship. She uses the Force to get into it and everything. And the main ship, that the transport ship they were on, that she was basically leading, crashes into the moon. It gets destroyed, and that's pretty much it. It's a really cool scene, and you do have to see it. But while she's there, she takes the helmets of the clones, and she makes little graves for them, and she leaves her lightsaber behind. And her and Rex leave, right? And I think she leaves her lightsaber behind to basically go like she died there. And the scene shifts to, I don't know, maybe it's a year later or a few months later, but you can see that the clones are gone. And it's stormtroopers now. And the stormtroopers are going through the debris, going through all the debris of the ship. And Darth Vader walks up. And you can see Darth Vader in the Clone Wars animation. And he looks really good. Like, I wish we get more Star Wars with this animation because it is incredible. And I've watched Rebels. And I think one of the things that's a problem with Rebels, beyond just the fact that there's some really crappy storytelling going on there, the animation for Rebels just is not that good. And I never watched Resistance or whatever, Star Wars Resistance, but it looks like crap. I really think that these other series Disney made would have been much better if they used the same animation from Clone Wars. Like, I think not doing that is a huge missed opportunity. Anyways, Darth Vader sees the lightsaber, he picks it up, and he looks upwards, and you can see Anakin's eyes. It's hard to see, right? But you can see his eyes behind the mask, and he looks up, and he sees this bird flying above him, and from what I understand, that bird is a representation of it's much earlier in the arc, but the sister from the Mortis arc. He sees that flying above his head, and it's hard to say what he's thinking in that moment because obviously he's Vader right now. But it's sort of like he accepts that Ahsoka is dead, and he went there to verify Ahsoka had died. Or he went there to see if she was still alive, and maybe he was there to hunt her down, but he lets it go, right? He ignites the lightsaber that was his former apprentice's, and that's it. That's where the series ends. It ends with Vader being there and believing that Ahsoka has died. And it's kind of sad. It is. Or maybe he believes that she's still alive and he decides to let her go and not hunt her down. It's really hard to say. And maybe you want to say, well, Vader still has feelings for Ahsoka, and so he lets his feelings guide his way, and he decides not to hunt her down. Or maybe he really does believe that Ahsoka has died there. Either way, it's a great way of ending the Clone Wars because, I mean, we all know that that was going to happen. We all knew eventually Darth Vader was going to get created. And I really do wish we'd get more Star Wars animated in that same way. And I think you could do that, and you could make it all about Darth Vader, right? And like he's such a good character. And one thing that I think Marvel has done well, and it's basically the Darth Vader comics. If you've ever read them, the first 25 issues were amazing. I haven't read anything beyond that. I've heard that it's still really good, but the 25 issue run of Darth Vader is incredible. And I think that if you wanted to, you could retell those stories with the Clone Wars animation, and it would just do amazing, right? I think it would do amazing. Anyways, that's the Clone Wars. As far as the series goes, it has its low points, obviously, but the Clone Wars was amazing because it expanded upon what was there. It didn't try to be different. It didn't try to shit all over what George Lucas had made. It really did try to expand from there. And I think that's why a lot of fans love it because, regardless of who Dave Filoni is as a person, you can tell he's a massive fan. He really respects what George Lucas made, and he tried to build from that instead of saying, fuck it, I can do a better job. Now, the thing I really wanted to do was talk about the Star Wars movies. And obviously, the original is the best trilogy, then the prequels, and then I would love to forget all about what came after with The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. But as far as ranking the films goes, let's try to do this. And I think I have some controversial picks. But I would say at the very bottom of the list would be The Last Jedi. And the reason for that, obviously, I think as a film, Solo, a Star Wars story, is a very terrible film as well. And that's the next pick, obviously. But the reason why The Last Jedi, I would say, is at the very bottom is because, first off, as far as the trilogy of movies goes, The Last Jedi tonally is completely different from both The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker. It doesn't fit at all as far as the tone goes. The dialogue is different. The way the characters move, the way they talk, it's all different. And, Rian Johnson, obviously he's capable of being a good filmmaker. He has other films that he's done that are really good. But you can just tell he does not respect what he is working on when it comes to The Last Jedi. And, as a huge fan of Star Wars, seeing the way they take this massive shit all over Luke in The Last Jedi is very disheartening. He goes through and he does away with Snoke. So whatever the plan was with Snoke, Rian Johnson just says, fuck it. And offs him in the dumbest way possible. I know a lot of people like a couple of things in that film. I've seen a lot of people have praised for the throne room fight scene where Kylo betrays Snoke and then they fight the temple guards. And I'm just like, all it is twirling guys and they're dancing and everything. And, obviously a lot of the lightsaber duels in Star Wars are choreographed very heavily. One of my favorite lightsaber duels, and, we'll go into it when we talk about that movie, it's heavily choreographed. And a lot of people say it's too choreographed. But if you closely watch the throne room fight scene with Kylo and Rey, it's done very poorly because there are moments where the bad guys literally, there's this one scene where the bad guy twirls up to Rey and then just twirls away from her. Doesn't attack her, doesn't do anything. She's completely open and he just twirls up and twirls out. And it's literally like a dance instead of a fight. and it's very annoying to watch that. But The Last Jedi is the worst film because of how they treat Luke Skywalker, how it just completely doesn't fit in with the rest of it. And there are some positives. As much as the whole I think somebody coined it and called it the Holdo remover, where they say that Holdo's maneuver, right, where she light speeds into another ship. I think it looks great. I really do. But, they bring up that the Holdo maneuver does not make sense at all. Because if that existed, if that was always a possibility, why don't you just do that all the time, right? Why don't you just take a much smaller ship and ram it into light speed? Why not just have a droid in the pilot seat and every single time you just do a suicide run on these much larger ships? And you could say, well, the cost of doing that doesn't make any sense. Well, yeah, it does. How many ships do you lose in a standard battle when you could just take a much smaller ship piloted by a droid and just Holdo maneuver it straight into these massive fucking Star Destroyers? Why not just do that every fucking time? Think about all the money you would save if you just had one X-Wing and that X-Wing went straight up to a Star Destroyer and went right into light speed into it. It would actually save a ton of money. You'd save a ton of lives if you just suicided into a Star Destroyer at light speed in every single movie. It really undoes a ton of shit. As cool as that looks, it makes no sense. The casino scene, it makes no sense because they're supposedly only have 16 hours. Right? They're about to run out of fuel. And why doesn't the First Order just surround them with more ships and take them out? Why cruise along behind them? It doesn't make any sense. And a lot of shit in Star Wars doesn't make sense if you overanalyze it. But this movie made no fucking sense. It didn't. And that's why I say The Last Jedi is the worst film, period. Solo, a Star Wars story. I think that would be the next worst one. And a lot of that is because I don't think Han Solo really needs a backstory. I don't think, as much as I like Donald Glover, I think he's really funny. I think he's just he's not Lando Calrissian, and he's trying to play a character that another actor has done such a better job at. And, obviously there's some people who complain about the whole polysexual droid that he's in a relationship with. And Lando's a polysexual person. I love how the original Lando basically said, that makes no sense. That's not Lando Calrissian. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. He just goes out and slams him. Gosh, what's his name? Billy D. Williams? I might be wrong there. But he respectfully bitch slapped Donald Glover for his portrayal of Lando Calrissian. I thought that whole thing, maybe that was the best part of Solo. The guy that actually plays the younger Solo, I thought didn't do a great job either. It's probably not that bad of a film, but what it's trying to be is just really annoying. And I hated watching it. And I don't think it was good. And I'm actually going to rewatch it. Maybe I'm giving that movie too much flack. I just thought that it was bad. It was really bad. Hold on. I got a couple comments. I'm sorry. Maul goes AWOL and gender bends into a hot red-skinned woman with tentacles on her head and night. Jay, man, you got some weird fantasies, man. You do. Selgay 1. They're taking a triple dump on Luke. When you think they're finished, more crap comes falling out. Yeah, no, it does. It really does. And like I said, when we talk about the whole statement that they make in one of their books where they basically slam Luke and say he didn't really matter, Jyn Erso did everything. It's more of this constant crapping on everything that Luke was and ever did. Holdo wasn't a woman, but a guy in very poor drag. Aw, so gay. So cruel. So cruel, so gay. J-Man, I read in a book somewhere that Han was raised by space gypsies. Personally, I think that's enough of a backstory for him. Yeah, actually, that's a better backstory than what we got in Solo. Look, the whole, like, Solo is just a scoundrel. He really is. And all his backstory needs to be is that he's a scoundrel. And there is a book where, like, something about that, right? His backstory doesn't matter. He's just a random dude who gets tossed into this whole world of Jedi and Sith and Vader and this war. And look, man, that's a perfect story for Han. We don't need what Solo, a Star Wars, does. It didn't expand on anything. It didn't build anything. And yeah, it was kind of cool the very end of the movie where you see Darth Maul pop up, but it's not needed, and it didn't really do anything for the character other than kind of ruin Lando, if I'm being totally honest. So what would I say is the next worst one? Because we haven't really gotten to a good one yet. Phantom Menace. I hate Phantom Menace. I think that it's a terrible film. And I've tried rewatching it. And yeah, I love Qui-Gon. But overall, I don't like that film. And the pod racing, I hated the pod racing, and I don't understand why baby Anakin has to be the one who builds C-3PO. Like, it's too much in that movie. They're trying way too hard, and don't even get me started on fucking Jar Jar, Jar Jar fucking Binks, man. Dude, Phantom Menace is just an awful film. I'm sorry. I think that overall, everything in that film just kind of doesn't work. And I understand, like, there's this whole plot where they originally wanted Jar Jar to be a secret Sith Lord, and you can kind of see it where he acts like a fucking derp, but he's able to take out droids. So, it doesn't work for me. The whole relationship that's supposed to be formed between Padme and Anakin doesn't work because Anakin is way too fucking young. It's a bad film, guys. It's a bad film if we're being really honest. Now, I do think the good parts of the film do redeem it a little bit. The battle between Darth Maul and Qui-Gon and Kenobi is really good. It really is. It's a fun fight to watch. Duel of the Fates is amazing. It's amazing music and everything. But it's kind of a bad film overall, and I can't rank it any higher than where I've ranked it because it just, for me, it's pretty bad. Like, it's really bad. What would be the next film on the list? I would say it's the Clone Wars animated film. As much as I love Clone Wars, the Clone Wars animated film I didn't like. I thought it was just meh. It wasn't entertaining for me. I don't think there's any really redeeming qualities to it. It's just overall kind of... let me read some of these comments and I'll move on to the next pick. Space Gypsies just want to pimp thee. Yes, Space Gypsies just do want to pimp. Qui-Gon's awesome. They killed him off too fast. I don't know. I think killing him off made sense. It's just I don't think that they used him well enough because I think you could have brought him back as a Force ghost in the next film. But killing him off does kind of make sense. It does suck because he's such a great character that to lose him that soon, like imagine Qui-Gon in Attack of the Clones. I think that would have been pretty cool, but I don't think his death was wasted so much. I just think that they could have used him as a Force ghost a little bit in the next film. And, it is what it is. Ironically, Jar Jar had more personality and character development than all the characters of the Disney trilogy combined. Yeah, what the fuck is wrong with that? Although I thought Finn was an okay character. I don't mind Finn. I think Finn's story kind of makes sense. Sorry, I had to drink something. But I thought Finn's story made sense in the Disney trilogy. I'll give him credit. Like, I think out of all the characters in the Disney trilogy, Finn is probably my favorite. And I don't... let's just go into the next pick. Rise of Skywalker. And some people really like that film. And I go like, yeah, it's okay in comparison to The Last Jedi. But if we compare Phantom Menace to The Last Jedi, I'd have to say I'm a fan of the Phantom Menace, and I really don't like that film. So I will say that I would have to pick Rise of Skywalker. As much as some people like that film, I don't think it really works. I don't really like it. It's the whole thing about the Palpatine clones. And yeah, that's actually from the Legacy universe. But I didn't like it. I thought that not bringing back Anakin Skywalker as a Force Ghost and having a conversation with Kylo was such a terrible decision. And I have no clue why they didn't want to use an Anakin Force Ghost in that movie, because you had other Force Ghosts. The Han Solo Force Ghost scene, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, that's Bucket the cat. He wants attention right now. Sorry, guys. Sorry, he needs attention. Yeah. Jasmine's looking at me. Why am I talking about Bucket? Because Bucket's being so loud, everyone can hear him on the microphone. She's shaking her head at me. That's not an excuse. I promised that the cats wouldn't be a part of the streams anymore. But Bucket wants to be a star. He wants to be YouTube famous. What can I do, guys? What can I do? But yeah, Rise of Skywalker is not a good film to me. I don't like Rise of Skywalker. Soge says hi, Jasmine and Bucket. Jasmine waved to you, Soge. So you've redeemed me with Jasmine. Thank you, buddy. Look, Rise of Skywalker, I understand it's got some cool scenes in it and everything. And obviously, as far as film goes, it's not bad. It really isn't that bad. It's just, maybe it's not the film's fault, because it had to follow up on Last Jedi, which killed so many storylines. But there's a lot of missed opportunities in that film, and there's a lot of missed opportunities in a lot of films. Let's be honest. I think it's better than The Phantom Menace. I just don't think Rise of Skywalker is really that great of a Star Wars film. Yeah, I mean, Palpatine is probably the most fun part of that, because anytime Palpatine's around, he's just good. And the lightning shit. The Force Dyad doesn't make any sense to me. The fucking MacGuffins don't make any sense to me. Not bringing back Anakin as a Force Ghost doesn't make any sense to me. It's just, it had a lot of hurdles to get through. And compared to The Last Jedi, it's an okay film. But, compare anything to The Last Jedi, and it's probably going to be a good film. So moving on, what would be my next pick? Because we don't have too many more left. I would say Attack of the Clones. I've rewatched Attack of the Clones and I have a better appreciation for it, but it is very slow. It's very dry. The dialogue just is not that good in Attack of the Clones. And I don't really have much more to say about it. It's pretty forgettable to me. Obviously it's where we get Kenobi and his mustache. Kenobi mustache is a great character, but I think that if you remove some scenes, you could tighten it up. I think you could really improve the dialogue and the chemistry between Anakin and Padme with those actors. But Natalie Portman and Hayden Christensen, I think I got their names right. It doesn't work. Like, it really doesn't work. It's pretty damn bad. It's really not good. And there's a lot of cringe stuff, like I don't like stand. Fuck you, dude. Like, it's just not a good film, honestly. It's okay. It's okay. And when I watch it again, there are some really good moments. The battle in that movie with all the Jedi versus all the droids and the clones and shit, it's okay. Like, it's okay. It's just not good. Count Dooku is a fun character. Ian something. I can't remember the actors' names, guys. I'm apologizing for that right now. But Count Dooku is a fun character. But because they scrapped the idea for Jar Jar being the actual Sith Lord, Dooku gets introduced from out of nowhere. And it's just meh. It's really meh all around. So the next film, I'll actually give Force Awakens. I think Force Awakens was okay. Like here's where we're going into the better films now. Force Awakens as its own thing. Yeah, you can go ahead and rag on the whole thing. Oh, thank you so much. Count Dooku was played by Christopher Lee. Yeah, Christopher Lee, good character, good actor. Good for you. Let me read some of your comments, and I'll go into why I think Force Awakens deserves to be where it is. So just put Rise of Skywalker in the underwhelming pile. Yeah, I mean, it's really in the underwhelming pile for me. I wouldn't say it's a terrible film. It's just kind of, nah. I think there were a lot of things that you could have done. And the problem with Rise of Skywalker as a Star Wars story, remember, it's meant to end the trilogy, right? And it should have done so much more, and it really was bad. Like, it really was bad. If we're being totally honest, it was really a bad film. Anakin, I don't like sand. Me kick sand in your face. Yes, okay, I would fucking do that all day long. Anakin dual wielding lightsabers. Yeah, I mean, Anakin. Thing about I do like about Anakin is he's a great duelist. I think the fact that he gets his hand chopped off, it makes sense because you couldn't step up to Dooku, and I think having his hand get chopped off in Attack of the Clones, it really does signify how he just doesn't have the power that he needs to have in that moment. And it really does drive him further to the dark side, because it's not so much losing his hand, it's the fact that he got bested by another by another person, and he realizes he's too weak to do what he needs to do. So I mean, losing your hand is probably not a good thing, but I think it works in that movie. Count Dooku had one of the best lightsaber styles. Yeah, he does. And the reason why he had the curved blade, or the curved handle for his lightsaber, was because it was a weighted handle. It made him a better duelist. And Count Dooku was like obsessed with being a better duelist, and they really expand upon that story. But yeah, it still hurts that Leia hugged fucking Rey over Chewie in Force Awakens. Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. The reason why I say Force Awakens is a good movie, it didn't take a shit over what came before it. It really did play up on what came before it. And yeah, there's a lot of people who go, well, it copies A New Hope. I mean, I'd say it plays an homage to A New Hope. And with what came after it, I guess I maybe have more of an appreciation for Force Awakens, because they really do play on Han and Chewie. Like they respect Han in that movie. They don't like take a giant shit all over him. And yeah, it sucks that he dies, but for a lot of people who don't know this, Harrison Ford wanted to kill Han off in Empire Strikes Back, because he didn't think that there was much more they could do with that character. I'll go into a little bit of why that's probably true. But I'm glad that they kept him alive. I'm glad they kept him alive for this movie. I like the relationship that Rey has with Han in that movie. And obviously they pay it off by, killing him like they do with Kenobi in New Hope. So I would say it's not so much copying. And yeah, you could, I guess you could make a fair argument for that. I'd say they were paying an homage to it because the characters aren't the same. Luke wants to leave his home and explore the galaxy. Rey wants to stay where she is, and she doesn't want to leave. So I wouldn't say that they are the same characters. Finn, who's Finn supposed to be from A New Hope? I like Leia. Is he supposed to be Leia? Maybe. But I think that Force Awakens was an okay film, and I like that scene. Like, as much as we all see it coming, where Kylo stabs Han, I thought that it was good. And I thought when you see Chewie just lose it and he fucking busts fucking Kylo, I thought that was great. I thought the battle between Kylo, Finn, and Rey was really good, and it makes sense that Rey's able to survive that fight there because Kylo got shot, and you can see it when he's like fighting him, and he has to keep pounding his chest because he's in so much pain to keep his heart going from being fucking shot by a fucking crossbow blaster or whatever the hell the Chewie's weapon's called. I thought it really did work, and as much as you can argue that Rey is Mary Sue, especially later on in the trilogy, I thought that she was all right. I thought that they did her okay in Force Awakens. Now, what comes after Force Awakens is a shit show, but Force Awakens was an okay film to me. So I'm going to say that. I'm going to place it where it is and, have that be what it is. But I'd say where we get to Force Awakens is where things start to go uphill for these movie choices. With it not being so much a meh film, it really did get me excited for the Disney trilogy. And, obviously Disney screws it up from there. I will 100% say that is their fault. Now let's go into some controversial picks with more controversial picks, I guess. Because from here, I'm going to say, this is hard. Return of the Jedi. Yeah, I'm putting Return of the Jedi here. Because as much as I love it, and I really do like Return of the Jedi, I hate the entire Battle of Endor. I really hate the entire Battle of Endor. Come at me with your bullshit. I don't like it. I don't think it's that good. I think that that the whole teddy bears, they ruin a lot of that film for me. And obviously I love the scenes with Luke and Vader. I love Anakin's redemption back to the light side. Seeing him finally stand up to the Emperor was great. But overall, it's meant to complete the trilogy. And I think it's the weakest film in the original trilogy. I really do. So I got to take more points off of it. As much as I do like it, I don't think it's that strong of a film. So it is what it is. Hate me if you're going to hate me for it. I got to put Return of the Jedi here. And you're really going to hate me with the next choice because Rogue One. I put Rogue One here because I really do like Rogue One. I think the way that they utilized Darth Vader in that film, it really reminds me of how he is in Empire Strikes Back. He redeems himself so much, because one of the things I didn't like about Revenge of the Sith is that final moment where he's put together as Darth Vader and he's like, "Where's Padme?" And then they go like, "She's dead." And he's like, "No!" That ruined Vader for me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, such a bitch move. But seeing that hallway scene in Rogue One was incredible. But it wasn't just the hallway scene. I thought, as far as the story goes, it was told very tight. It really was. Jyn Erso is not a Mary Sue character. I thought she was a fine protagonist. You can tell she's angry, but she fucking does what she needs to do. Everybody does what they need to do. And the ending with them all being wiped out, I didn't think that Disney had the balls to do a story like that, but they did. And the brutality of Vader in the hallway is great. Now, one of the things I thought was really bad, and I think the movie could have been even better, was if they took out all of the Tarkin scenes. Because first off, way to disrespect the man's memory by bringing him back that way. But I think that if you just made more of Vader and replaced all the Tarkin scenes with more Vader scenes, that movie would have been so much better. Just have Vader be the looming threat. Have him be the shark from Jaws, the creature that is lurking there. And I think it would have even more, it would have paid off that hallway scene even more by making him loom in the backgrounds. But seeing the planet of Mustafar there, the villain whose name is escaping me because it's been it's been about 2 years since I've watched Rogue One, or rewatched Rogue One. The villain in that scene, in that movie, the antagonist, where he where he goes, so I get to keep my position, and Vader like force chokes him, and he goes like, be careful not to choke on your aspirations. I thought that was great. I love that. I love that entire interaction. So Rogue One really did feel like a Star Wars story. It ties perfectly into A New Hope. And then, you know, it's a good movie. It really is. Speaking of A New Hope, I got to put A New Hope here. I do love the start for the original trilogy. It's a great film. Let's not mix any words there. As far as A New Hope goes, I really do love it. Now, obviously, there are some drawbacks, being how old the film is. There are some things that, you know, they do in that movie that you can tell they wish they had done a little bit differently, because when Kenobi is fighting Darth Vader, he calls him Darth, right? Because Darth wasn't a title. Darth was Darth Vader's actual name. And there was no plans for Darth Vader to originally be Luke Skywalker's father. That comes later. Originally, Darth Vader was literally going to be the one who kills Luke's father. He was supposed to be the guy who murders Anakin Skywalker, but then later George Lucas changed it up. So there's some things that tonally don't kind of move in very well. But overall, it's an incredible film. The introduction to the Force, the introduction to this massive galaxy. Leia is incredible in this film. You know, where she just takes the blaster and starts shooting, and like the stormtroopers are running away. It's good. It's funny at times. You know, Han is a fun character. And obviously I'm referring to the not remastered, because remember, Han shoots first in the bar. Han shoots first. He doesn't get fired at. He shoots the fucking the scumbags in the bar first, because that's the type of man Han is. He is a scoundrel through and through, and I love it. Now, I got to put Revenge of the Sith over A New Hope, only because it completes the trilogy perfectly, right? As much as I don't like Phantom Menace, as much as I think Attack of the Clones is a meh film, we know what's coming in Revenge of the Sith. We know what's going to come in Revenge of the Sith, but they do it so fucking well. Now, obviously, we still have a lot of the same issues with the dialogue and Hayden Christensen and everything, but it is so good. It is so fucking good. When Order 66 is executed, and you see all the Jedi masters, and they're just looking in shock as they are just gunned down, like, it hurts, because a lot of those characters you like. And you know, see, I mean, yeah, obviously there's some funny fucking memes of Anakin killing all the children in Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, man. But the final fight of that movie it takes place in two parts, because you have the fight between Yoda and Sidious, and you have the fight between Anakin and Kenobi. And it's so well done. It really is. I guess my favorite part is where fucking Kenobi just drop kicks Anakin or whatever the fuck he does. It's so funny how he just fucking busts him in the fucking face, and Anakin goes flipping over. The choreography is great. The fight over Mustafar with all the fucking lava there, it's beautiful. The fight between Yoda and Palpatine. So Yoda and Sidious fight, and they are using the Force the entire time. When Anakin is fighting with Kenobi, it is a lightsaber duel. Now, obviously, I don't understand how a slight elevation in height can make up the difference when Anakin is supposed to be the most powerful Force user, and the greatest in the galaxy, and he gets swamped by Kenobi because Kenobi is slightly more elevated than him. And, I know that they've tried to explain it away by saying that Kenobi used a move that was forbidden among the Jedi, and that Anakin wasn't expecting it or something. But, like, the slight elevation in height should not make up that massive power difference that is supposedly should be existing between these two individuals. But otherwise, I think Revenge of the Sith, the nice thing about the prequel trilogy is it does get progressively better. And the final film in that trilogy is indeed the best film in that trilogy. And watching Anakin's fall to the dark side, it hurts. You really wish that something stops it. You know it's coming. And seeing Order 66 get executed, the ending moments of that film are some of the best in Star Wars. And I got a lot of flack for the prequel. Yeah, Obi-Wan, I have the high ground. Why? Why would that matter? Anakin force throws a tidal wave of lava at Obi-Wan. Yeah, he has the power to do this shit. And, I can rationalize it too. I can say that Anakin is so arrogant that he doesn't think he needs the lava, that he thinks he can beat him with his lightsaber. But, like, really, Obi-Wan should be fucking toast so many times in that duel. He really should. Anakin is stronger than him. Anakin is younger than him. Anakin has more energy than him. Anakin has more ability to use the Force than him. But Obi-Wan has the high ground. It's a slight elevation in height shouldn't matter between the chosen one and a slight elevation in height. You'd think you could choose the chosen one, but no, a slight elevation in height is apparently what you need to win a battle in Star Wars. But there are so many things that they do well in that entire fight. There's another hallway scene in there where Anakin is just pushing Obi-Wan back the entire time. And you feel like claustrophobic with it because he's just pushing Kenobi back each and every time. Anakin is madder than Obi. Yeah, Anakin is pissed. And, Obi-Wan is sitting there, like, shocked and confused. But I think Obi-Wan is also a little bit angry there, too, because he's angry at himself and he's angry at Anakin because he's like, you are supposed to be the chosen one. You're supposed to destroy the Sith. And he screams it at him. I think that Obi-Wan is at fault for the creation of Darth Vader because really you should have finished Anakin off in that moment. And I get it. That's not the Jedi way, but you should have finished him off in that moment. You should not have left you should have taken him from there. You should not have left your best friend, your brother, to sit there and die in the ashes of Mustafar and burn alive. Like, you shouldn't have done that to him. As much as you were angry, I really do think Obi-Wan is responsible for the creation of Darth Vader in that moment because he left Anakin to burn alive. Like, that's that's much darker than just finishing him off. And, it's not merciful. You should have taken him with you, even in that state that he was in. But yeah, that's why I got to say Revenge of the Sith is like the number 2 film. And of course, the top film, the greatest film of all time, as some would say. We only have one film left, so I'm sure you know what it is. It is indeed Empire Strikes Back. Everything in Empire Strikes Back is amazing. We get the introduction of Yoda, which, like, come on, the introduction of Yoda is incredible. Let's see what we got here. We have the reveal. I want to show an image from the movie. See if I can do that. Oh wow, that is not. Gosh, I can't find a good image to show you guys. Yeah, of course it's Empire. Of course it's Empire. We have the reveal of Darth Vader as Luke's father, which is just beautiful. And I love that line, search your feelings, you know it to be true. Lando, yeah, we had the introduction of Lando Calrissian in that movie, the introduction of Yoda in that movie, two of the greatest characters in the entire Star Wars franchise. The ending is so dark, with Luke getting his hand chopped off, right, just like his daddy. And yeah, actually, something to be said about that. And Attack of the Clones, Anakin loses his hand in the second film. Luke loses his hand in the second film. Luke choosing to I wouldn't say he chooses to die, but he chooses to trust in the Force instead of trusting in Vader. Instead of submitting to Vader, he chooses to put his life into the Force's hands, and he jumps. And, he is saved. Han is taken away by Boba Fett. It's been a while since I've watched the original trilogy, but Boba Fett in the second film was great. Now you can. Yeah. Nice. But yeah, Luke is incredible in that film. Vader is done so well in Empire Strikes Back. He is. I love when Vader shows up in Cloud City, and Han immediately pulls out his gun and shoots him, because that's who Han is. He does not wait. He shoots first. Han always shoots first, and Vader catches the bolt. Like, I was just like, fuck, man. What are you going to do to this guy? What are you going to do? You can shoot at him point blank and he will catch it. That is how fucking badass Vader is. Where Lando is like, where Lando's like, this isn't the deal we agreed to. And Vader's just like, calmly, I have altered the terms of this deal. Like, fucking, like a badass pimp robot bitch motherfucker. Like, Vader is great in Empire Strikes Back. Luke leaving his training to be a Jedi because he needs to go save his friends. He makes the wrong choice there. He should have trained in the Force more, but, Luke is not a perfect character. He needs to go save his friends. That matters more to him. So he's not the perfect Jedi in Empire Strikes Back, and that leads to his defeat at the hands of Vader. And it's got such a dark ending to it. Han Solo is frozen in carbonite. I actually have that. My wallet is like this metallic case with Han Solo frozen in carbonite on it. Oh my gosh. We need a Darth Vader movie. Oh man, can you just imagine if they made a Darth Vader movie? I would fucking love that shit so much. Dude, we do need a Darth Vader movie. That would be the greatest shit ever. I'd watch it. You'd watch it. We would all be watching a Darth Vader film if they came out with it. Hold on 1 second, guys. My power came loose and I just realized it. Gosh. Yeah, if they made a Darth Vader film, that would be great, because we have the original voice of Darth Vader. He's still around. They used him for Rogue One, which was great. I like the Robot Chicken parody of that Lando scene. Yes, Robot Chicken. I love their Star Wars shit. It's so fucking good. But they're saying that they're making a new film with Taika Waititi. Let me see if I can find that real quick, and we'll try to end it on a positive note, because obviously actually really quick before we get into it, what I think is the problem with Disney Star Wars is it's this idea that what's come before it isn't any good. Right? That I don't know if you want to call it arrogance, or you want to say that they're trying to reach to this younger fan base and Star Wars is too complicated. Look, man, the people that are going to be watching these films are the same people that are interested in what came before it. They love this canon. They love the universe that George Lucas created, that guys like Dave Filoni expanded upon. And the idea that people don't like Disney Star Wars because, oh, the woman, oh, they just hate the woman. I mean, you have to look at the love and respect these same people give to Ahsoka Tano and realize that it's all bullshit. The reason why people don't like Rey, like, look, I liked Rey in The Force Awakens. I don't like her in the other films. You know, I really hate her in the other films. And it's because, like, The Force Awakens built this mystery behind the character. She actually had a really strong personality in terms of what she wanted, which was essentially to stay and be a scrapper. And I like that relationship that she had with Han Solo. But then from there, she's just not interesting. There's no growth for her character. It's not like Luke. Luke fails, and he fails miserably, right? In the second film, he gets his hand chopped off, right? He fails big time. You know, he leaves his training as a Jedi because he cannot trust in the Force. He has to go save his friends. He's being manipulated by the visions that he's seeing. But then with Rey, it's like, oh, she's perfect and she can solve any problem. The battle with Snoke and Kylo is weird. The whole romance thing in that movie with Kylo Ren is fucking weird. The third movie is, yeah, I mean, look, the appreciation that fans have for Ahsoka Tano should tell you that Star Wars fans have no issues with strong female characters. Look, if we got the original characters from the Legacy universe, we're not going to have these same issues. Star Wars fails at the box office. Woman most affected. Yeah, no, look, man, it's, you know, I have this theory, and it's kind of like they look at demographics and they think that, oh, well, there are more women than men, so we need to start shifting all these properties to be more appealing towards women because that's the larger audience. And I sit there and go, like, look, Star Wars has always been for everybody. It really has. And again, the love that the fan base has for Ahsoka Tano, a character who started out with most people despising her, not because she was one, because she was an annoying kid, but the character growth that you see with her is amazing, and the fans love her. So when I look at Star Wars, Disney Star Wars, I go like, you misunderstand your fan base to this extreme degree. You disrespect them because you don't take what they say seriously, and instead you mock and belittle and berate them. And then you turn around and you shove things into people's faces, and when they don't like it, you sit there and say, well, it's because you're what does the Yellow Flash say, an istaphobe? Like, that shit doesn't work. It doesn't. You cannot shame people into liking your garbage. You cannot shame people into enjoying your bullshit. And, you know, a lot of these companies are situated in super progressive areas, and that's just what they're used to doing. And I don't think that they understand. Like, I'm from California. You know, if you say anything, it's always this joke, right? Like, if you're to the right of Stalin, you're a Nazi. But it's true. And in California, in a lot of these areas, if you say something that doesn't fit with progressive orthodoxy or whatever, you get shamed. And it's how they're just used to talking and dealing with people. It's like they can just shame you into agreeing with them. And people want to be liked, and people do want to be loved. And rather than pushing against the social norms that exist in these areas, you know, they bend the knee to it. They accept it. They accept that they are the problem and that everything else is right. And it's annoying because then they get a hold of powerful franchises like Star Wars. And that's how they're used to treating people. And that's how they go and treat their fans. Well, we're just going to shame you until you agree with us. Well, if you really wanted people to agree with you, you know, flies and honey, it's an actual thing. Flies and, you know, throwing fucking shoes at them, you're not going to get anywhere. So when I look at Disney Star Wars, it's like, you don't understand why your fans are as passionate as they are, and you mistake that passion for anger, right? You really do. You sit there and you like, look, man, the fans hated the prequel films. I remember that shit. I do. But, you know, you you didn't have the fans sitting there wanting to burn down George Lucas and Lucasfilm Studios and anything, right? They were passionate. They disagreed. And if you listen to their disagreements, the things that they said made sense. Now, obviously, do you have quote unquote toxic fans? Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm sure if you looked at the fringes of any group, you're going to find some pretty angry people. And that exists with everything. Can you get rid of it? No. Like, I'm sorry. No, you were never going to get... Like, dude, Pokemon has some fucking toxic fans, if you really want to be honest. But is that the whole? Is that the majority? Is that even a slight majority? Is that even a noticeable portion of the people involved? No, it really isn't. It is a very small group of people that behave that way. But, Disney and these studios and jackasses like Rian Johnson, they choose to pull out of context these weirdos and frame it as like that's the entire group that's upset with you. And it's not. It's such a straw man argument, and it leads you to making these terrible, awful decisions because rather than take seriously the criticism that you're receiving, you sit there and you point to someone who says something really stupid, and you go and like, well, that's everybody who disagrees with me. It doesn't work that way. Obviously, it doesn't, and obviously, that's not all the people that are interested in the franchise. It's not even a large group of people. And so then you turn around and you insult people who are being critical of what you're doing because, you're just wrong. And you make it worse, right? Because then you've demonized these people to the point where they are literally evil. And so you cannot ever come to any sort of agreement with them because you've just been telling everybody how wrong and evil and nasty and bigoted and racist and misogynistic and homophobic and yada yada, whatever else. So now you'll never be able to come to any sort of accord because you've made them into the devil. Like you've literally made them into the devil. And you can't make an agreement with the devil because then that makes you evil. And so the cycle is just totally, it's complete now. You're in a circle and you'll never break out of that circle because you've made your fans, you've turned the people that are passionate about what you are doing, you've turned them into the enemy. And so it's my problem with Disney's current level with Star Wars. And, I'm not one of those people who's just going to talk mad shit about Kathleen Kennedy all day and night because honestly, as much as I love Star Wars, I wouldn't call myself like a super fan or anything because there are guys that I like watching on YouTube that talk about like all the forms of fighting in Star Wars, and I sit there and go like, man, I don't even know one. I don't even know what to call this shit. I just think it's cool when they swing around the laser swords and do the Force mind stuff. That's me when it comes to Star Wars, but I can tell when a story is bad. I can tell when you have no clue what you're doing. I can tell when you're breaking canon because you can't make sense of it and you can't hire on talented individuals who are passionate about what you're doing. I like J.J. Abrams. I love the show Fringe. I don't think it was a good choice to direct a Star Wars film. I really don't because, he's just, I wouldn't really call him a huge fan of the franchise. You have people like Dave Filoni, like get someone like that to work on these projects because they are going to do you right. They're going to do the franchise right, and they're going to do right by the fans, regardless of whatever their personal opinion is, because that comes second to telling a great story. There's this whole thing with Kathleen Kennedy and this female-centric Star Wars project that they want to do. I don't have a problem if you want to focus around a female character, but why is that why is that your selling point to a series of Star Wars? I already said Ahsoka Tano is great. Like maybe the show is that they're talking about is a show that's going to follow Ahsoka Tano. I'd be fine with that. I really would. But why not tell me about a story of a former Jedi that left the Order and has sought out a new path? Wouldn't that be more exciting as a fan of Star Wars to hear that they're going to tell that story? Why is it, we're making a female-centric Star Wars story? Okay, and what else are you doing? What else is there? Don't don't make it about someone's identity. Make it about like the story. And if you think that their identity is key in telling that story, I mean, I disagree, because we've seen great fucking we've seen great female characters, we've seen great male characters, we've seen great characters whose gender and whatever we can't even identify because they're an alien species, you know. And Star Wars has been able to tell those stories without any issues before. So I don't know why that becomes the sole focus. Is because the majority of your audience, and let's not lie, the majority of the Star Wars audience is male. And like, you saying that there are no females that watch the property? Because I know that's not true. Because I have friends who are female that like Star Wars, and they like Star Wars for the reason that it's these deep stories, it's these deep meanings in the stories that they are telling. It's not because Ahsoka Tano is a chick. It has nothing to do with that. Ahsoka Tano could be a dude, Anakin could be a woman, and they would, well, I mean, I'd probably take something away from Vader. Let's be honest. Let's change that. Sorry, Tom. Kenobi could be a chick, right? And Ahsoka Tano could be a dude. And I don't think people would like look at it and go, "Oh, this is terrible storytelling" or anything. Like, obviously, if you retconned it, I'm probably not making the best point. But like, dude, if you came out and you made a series that was going to follow Ahsoka Tano, right? I don't think people would be upset with that. I think people would praise it. I think people would want to watch it. Now, if you made that series and it specifically becomes about what a tough world the galaxy is for Ahsoka because she's a woman, then it becomes boring. It really does. Like, you know, you're in this massive galaxy with all these different aliens and all these different things and things that don't even have genders. Like, we want more. We want things that everybody can relate to. We want struggles. Like, I always say the same thing. Like, the reason why I relate to Spider-Man has nothing to do with the fact that Spider-Man's a white dude. It's about the story of somebody who gets pushed down, who everybody sees as a problem and a menace, but still understands that there is a good and right thing that you are supposed to be doing, and does that anyways. Even if it doesn't get him what he wants, he still does the right thing because he knows it's the right thing. You know, and Darth Vader, Luke, I am your mother. That'd be funny. That would. But yeah, I mean, look, my issue with Disney taking over the franchise is you have these like corporate boardrooms that are coming out and deciding, well, this would be good if we can reach out to this audience. Well, if you want to reach out to a larger audience, you need to start by telling a more compelling story. Now, I'll throw some shade at the prequel films right now, and even the original trilogy. It's probably not the easiest thing for a casual fan to jump into, all this stuff and all this background. So if Disney wants to tell a Star Wars story where they, you know, make it simpler for a casual person to jump into, I'd be fine with that. And then, you know, we could expand into it even deeper through video games, through comic books, through books, through novelizations. You can do that, and you can be smart about it, right? Like the prequel films, I think the worst part about them is the world building and the politics of the world building is very dry and hard to sit through at times. So, you know, if you could focus on things that people like and appreciate, and, you know, save all that other shit for, like, you know, the Thrawn trilogy or something, you know, like, you can do that. You can be smart about it. And instead, what we've gotten with Disney Star Wars is like shallow takes on everything, like the shallowest of takes on everything. This whole thing where, and I hate to say it, but because they raise a woman, they don't want to put her into situations that are tough and difficult to deal with, and she has to become victorious at the end of all the films rather than experiencing great failure and growing from it. Like, let's be honest, most of us have failed. Most of us have come up short, and we haven't succeeded in the way that we've wanted to succeed. It's not shameful. It's only shameful if you don't grow from that failure. And you don't see that in Disney's Star Wars trilogy. You do not see Rey fail at all. And it's annoying because it's like, how is she supposed to become better if she never experiences those basic lessons that all of us have experienced? Like, and it becomes totally unrelatable that someone grows to be the greatest Jedi in the entire galaxy when they've never experienced failure. Like, wasn't that a core teaching in those movies? You know, failure is supposed to be the best teacher. And so you see that happen in, well, I mean, let's look at it. In the original trilogy, Luke fails at the end of episode 2. He does, but he learns from that failure. He becomes better and he becomes a greater Jedi because of it. Anakin, he fails, but he never learns from his failure. Instead, he becomes obsessive about becoming stronger, and we see the dark path that leads him down. With Rey, she doesn't fail. She never fails. And it's annoying to see a character like that. Not because they're a woman. Rey could be a dude. It would be fucking annoying to see that character because it's just like, well, why am I watching this? Why am I going to watch a character that has no faults, never fails, never struggles? That's not relatable to me or to anybody else ever, ever, ever. Hey, Common Rider, may the 4th be with you too, buddy. J-Man, it's actually been done in Thumb Wars. Actually had Darth say, wait until your father. I remember that. That shit was funny. But look, it's got nothing to do with Rey being a woman that people don't like the Disney trilogy. And I've heard that being said, like, they don't like it because they're a bunch of 40-year-old misogynists. It's got, like, these same people that you're insulting for not liking Rey also love Ahsoka Tano. So clearly there's a there's a big fucking disconnect going on there between reality and what's going on in their heads. It's the fact that she just doesn't relate. Yeah, are people going to complain that she's too powerful? Well, yeah, always. You think people didn't complain that Luke was too powerful? Like, come on. You think people didn't complain that Anakin was too weak? Like, we just made jokes about the fucking height elevation bullshit in Revenge of the Sith. Doesn't ruin the movie, but, like, again, there's a core theme in Revenge of the Sith, in the prequel films that culminates in Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin doesn't learn from his failures and his mistakes. He just doubles down and continues to make them until it all culminates in him becoming Darth Vader. Luke, he learns from his mistake. He learns from his mistake at the end of Empire Strikes Back, and he makes a massive mistake in going to face Vader and in being too arrogant and thinking that he can just save everybody. And we see how he ends up. Han gets frozen in carbonite. Luke loses his hands and well, one hand, and he winds up clinging from the bottom of Cloud City in tears, right? Because he got his ass beat so bad. Rey doesn't experience those failures. She doesn't experience those mistakes. She doesn't make any mistakes. So it's like it's not good. And then you're going to top all of that off by taking these massive dumps on Luke Skywalker, who people love, right? Because you think that what you're telling is a better story. I mean, I'm sorry, but, like, if it was a better story, your toys would sell. Your movies would make way more money. Like, I saw all the Disney Star Wars films, and I didn't like them. So you know what I didn't do? I didn't go out there and buy, like, the toys and the shit that I did when, the other films were out. I didn't buy any of the stuff that I normally buy. I didn't buy fucking tie-in comics. You know what I spent my money on? I spent my money buying issues 1 through 25 of the Darth Vader comic because I fucking love that character. And then, you really want to just turn around and slap everybody in the face when the prequel films are about Anakin's fall to the dark side. The original trilogy is Luke's story and the redeeming of Anakin Skywalker. And then the sequel films, you're never once going to have Anakin appear, even as a Force Ghost cameo for like 10 seconds. Instead, you get Harrison Ford to come back as Force Ghost, which makes no sense because Harrison Ford isn't a fucking Jedi. Oh boy. Now, there is some good news, and maybe it's a new hope for the entire franchise. Let's see here. we do have potentially something that could be good for everybody. Academy Award winner Taika Waititi to direct and co-write new Star Wars feature film for theatrical release. Oscar nominee Krysty Wilson Cairns to co-write screenplay with Waititi. Now, for those of you who don't know, Krysty Wilson here, she wrote 1917. She's the writer for 1917, which is one of the best war films ever. Now, obviously, there's more than the writing, more than just the writing that made 1917 so good. The fact that entire film like has no cuts in it, it just like keeps fucking going. Like that's intense. It's really intense for a war film. But I think that's a great team that you have there. Taika Waititi, you know, I don't. He's more wacky, and I think that if you had Taika do a solo a story about Han Solo's origins, I think that would have been better. I think actually one of the main issues I had with Solo a Star Wars story, and the reason why it took so long to watch it, was because originally they had the guys from 21 Jump Street. They were going to write it, or they were going to do the whole movie, and they had some sort of conflict with Kathleen Kennedy, and they got fired. And I'm just like, well, that was a big fucking mistake. Say, I just realized we should call you Darth Crow for the rest of the stream. Stream's gonna end pretty soon, but I appreciate that. You can call me Darth Crow. Now that I think about it, Luke is what Anakin would have been if he learned from his own mistakes and taken a lighter path. Yes, absolutely so. Yeah, absolutely. If Anakin had learned from his mistakes, if he had learned to trust in the Force, if he had learned that, you know, he has to be able to loosen his grip, that he can't always save everybody, that he can't be so angry at his failures, and he could have been like Luke. But then look how Disney treats Luke. Like, that's why I say, like, look at the legacy universe for Luke Skywalker and what he's supposed to become. And that's how Disney should have portrayed that character. Maybe you don't want to make him as powerful. Hey, maybe we could have just told the story where the reason why he's in isolation is because Kylo went batshit crazy and murdered all his students. And maybe he even attacked Luke. And, you know, Luke couldn't bring himself to strike down his nephew. Instead, you went ahead and turned around and said he tried to murder Kylo Ren instead. Like, why would you do that? Like, that's so fucking sick. It's really sick. Anyways, I think I am excited for the idea of another Star Wars film, but this time with some good direction behind it and some good writing behind it. I think that maybe Disney wants to make money more than they want to do this bullshit with the, you know, virtue signaling behind Rian Johnson's terrible film. Maybe they're tired of Kathleen Kennedy making terrible business decisions behind this franchise. I think that at the end of the day, money matters more to Disney than all this other bullshit. And, you know, they're taking a look at the things that have been successful that people have praised, like Rogue One that they made, like the final season of the Clone Wars, like even Force Awakens, right? I think that they're going to look at those as their success stories, and they're going to look at the things that haven't worked, and they're going to draw away from pulling that bullshit. And I think even Rise of Skywalker, right? Rise of Skywalker did not follow that same path and trend that Last Jedi did. It really didn't. It tried so much to play back into that nostalgia factor that Last Jedi just continuously kept shooting. So I think Disney is at the point where maybe they've realized they need to immediately change course on what's going on. And so hopefully we start to see some more improvements. I mean, let's look at Mandalorian, right? Great show, amazing show. We'll see. You know, time's going to tell. But Disney owns the Star Wars franchise. They understand it is a pile of gold that they have only been able to milk piss water out of so far. So hopefully we see some immediate changes. And this seems like a very good sign. This really does. Obviously the whole notion of the female centric Star Wars show, it's hit or miss for me. I want to hear more about it before I sit there and get upset over it. Obviously, it sounds bad so far with the person that they've greenlit to do the project, and Kathleen Kennedy makes some terrible fucking decisions, and she's obviously more interested in what she personally believes in versus taking care of this franchise. But I look at stuff like this and I say, well, that's good. I look at The Mandalorian and I say, that's good. I look at the final season of Clone Wars, and obviously there were some episodes where I was like, meh. That's like every single season. But the way that they finished it off, amazing. So clearly they have the talent, right? They have the talent working at Lucasfilms. They have the ability to get the right people. It's just, maybe you want to call it growing pains or whatever, but I think they've realized that they need to change course, and they need to change course like immediately if they want to make a profit off of what they own here. And people are always going to point and go like, well, these movies made money. Yeah, but look, man, the thing that made George Lucas a filthy rich, like billionaire dude, it was toy sales. And right now, Disney is not selling toys. They're not selling merchandise on their Star Wars franchise. The thing that's selling money for them right now is this old stuff. It's the nostalgia. It's going back to what they had before. So I don't know. Maybe we see something crazy. Maybe we get a Darth Vader film. And if they made a Darth Vader film, like, man, I will throw all of my schmeckles directly at the Darth Vader film. I will. It's very hard to screw up Darth Vader. You just need to have no compassion towards life at all, and use that mindset to write the character. Disney only puts Luke down because they know he's better than Rey in his own movies, and nothing will ever change that. Yeah, I mean, look, I think Kathleen Kennedy is behind a lot of that. Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy, maybe she makes great decisions when she's working on her own, but the thing is, she has a franchise that, and no joke, it's got a largely male fan base, and she is an overt, out and out feminist, and she thinks that feminism's future and female characters are the future. And I'm sure that a lot of the things that the Disney saw in her, and the reason why they trusted her so much, is because they want to tap into the market to get a larger female fan base, which is fine. I mean, I think that you can do that smart. I think that Kathleen Kennedy's way of doing it is stupid. And I think that that's caused so many issues for the franchise and for the fans. And rather than accepting, oh my gosh, they're fucking Anakin Skywalker. Rather than accepting the failure, accepting the criticism, and learning from it, they double down on their stupid, and they just get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And like I said, maybe just maybe we're seeing a light at the end of the tunnel with this announcement. Maybe we're seeing a light at the end of the tunnel when we take a look at The Mandalorian, and we take a look at the end of Clone Wars. Maybe they've decided that there's a different path forward. We can only hope, because at the end of the day, we're just fans of it, and we don't own it. And if they don't learn, then we shouldn't throw our money towards them. Like, as much as there are some good things that we have seen coming out, especially in the last couple of years, the good news that we've seen coming out in the last couple of years, we still see some stupid shit happening. Rather than telling us the stories we want to see, they're bringing up the High Council. They want to do a whole book series about the Jedi Knights of the Round Table. I'll be frank with you. I'm not going to spend my money on that shit. I'm not going to support it. And if you're not interested in seeing that, I think the smart thing to do is just say, hey, I'm out. I'm not going to put my money towards it. And when you give me what I want, then I will go back with my dollars. And I think if we do that, then Disney will learn its lesson, because Disney wants to make money, right? I think Disney made a terrible financial decision. I think that they trusted Kathleen Kennedy way too much. And I think, you give it a year and a half, because her contract ends within a year and a half, and we will see them immediately replace her with somebody more competent. and that isn't so divisive. Because, you know, Star Wars at the end of the day, it does have a largely male fan base, but it's not exclusively for men, and it shouldn't be exclusively for women either. It should be for everybody by telling good stories that everybody is interested and compelled in hearing. And that's those are my final thoughts with this. I still love Star Wars Day. I still think that it's something that we should all celebrate as fans. And I think that if you're upset with what we've seen lately from Disney, the right way is to respond to it by explaining how it can be better, explaining exactly what our issues are with it, and not supporting it, not buying the merchandise. And, you know, instead we spend our money towards the things that we do like from Star Wars, like, you know, buying the Darth Vader comic. Show how much love we have for the character of Darth Vader, or show how much love you have for the character of Luke Skywalker. Show how much love you have for the character of Yoda, not the bullshit they've been shoving on our faces, telling us to support and like. I think that's the way forward, and it's a long road. And, you know, maybe you get so tuned out from all the bullshit that they shoved in your face, you just say, "Well, I'm just not gonna do it." I'm okay with that. Like, I get that. Like, you know, all power to you. Don't support something you don't like, and don't support something you don't love. And if you don't like or love the direction Star Wars has gone in, and you are not willing to sit through it, fuck, man, I don't blame you. I really don't. But I would say at least keep your eyes open for good news, like the news that we got today. Keep your eyes open for good series like we got with The Mandalorian. Keep your eyes open for things like the final 4-episode arc of Clone Wars, and see that there are still people at Lucasfilm who know how to tell a good story, who know what the fans love, and who are willing to give that to us. And that's what we should be supporting. One of the best ways to get girls into Star Wars is to go the Aquaman route. Yeah. Sex sells for both genders. Let's be honest. If you want women into Star Wars and you want to be cheap and easy about it, fucking go the Aquaman route. Why not? EU Luke versus Darth Vader would be a pretty cool fight. Dude, EU Luke would demolish Darth Vader. As much as I like Darth Vader, Extended Universe or Legacy Luke is insanely fucking overpowered. It wouldn't even be a fair fight. Like, it wouldn't even be a fair fight. I mean, Luke is, and here's the thing. In Return of the Jedi, Luke is strong enough to best Darth Vader in combat. But there's a couple things you can say about that. First off, obviously Luke is channeling the dark side there. And you could even say Darth Vader's holding back because it's his son. But I wouldn't really say that, because I don't think Darth Vader ever holds back. Shirtless buff Obi-Wan. Hello there, ladies. Yeah. Look, I mean, if you want to go that route, you could go that route, and you get female viewers, obviously. But if you want women into Star Wars, you're not going to get them into Star Wars by, you know, shoving a character in their face that has no faults, that has no flaws, that has no struggles, and always wins and succeeds, because that's not entertaining for anybody. And it's hard to relate to that person and want them to win, because honestly, you're probably looking at it like, well, I really hope someone knocks them down a peg. Anyways, guys, I need to end the stream. We've been going for a little over 2 hours. I only intended to go for like an hour, but when I talk about Star Wars, I love Star Wars, and it's so hard not to talk about things that I love and the things that I just really haven't liked. I'm looking forward to The Mandalorian Season 2. In fact, I remember when The Mandalorian Season 1 came out, before that, and there was talk about it, and I was just like, you know what? I ain't going to watch this because I don't want to deal with people's personal politics. But, you know, some people watched it. They told me that it was good. And, yeah, I watched the first couple episodes. I was like, man, this is brilliant. Seriously, it's Star Wars, not Thelma and Louise. Yeah, I mean, look, again, if there are things that you don't like in Star Wars, you shouldn't watch it. Like, as much as I don't like Star Wars Rebels, just sorry, I'm going off. And I think the Clone Wars is better. I do enjoy certain things in Star Wars Rebels, so I'm willing to watch that show, and I'll give it a shot. And I did, and there were some things that I really did like. Twilight of the Apprentice, episodes 1 and 2. I thought that those were great episodes. I thought that some of the stuff in Rebels was okay. I didn't like the art so much. The animation I thought was pretty bad, and I thought they should use the Clone Wars animation. But it was okay, and I was willing to watch it. Now, fucking the Star Wars Resistance crap is so bad. I'm not going to fucking touch it with a 10-foot fucking pole, ever, 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 ever. And one of the things I do like in Rebels is all the, and because it's a cartoon, I'm a little bit more willing to take the fan service shit. But I like how like Lando shows up, how they have an episode with Leia, the episode with Obi-Wan and Darth Maul, like that was touching. It really was how Darth Maul, how Obi-Wan like wipes out Darth Maul, and you see Darth Maul just kind of like dying, and he's somewhat at peace in his death because he knows that the actual chosen one is going to avenge him by destroying the Empire, and I love that. I also love the whole when Darth Maul comes back and he's like, I'm going off on tangent. I'm sorry, I can't. Like Darth Maul actually became a really good character later on after he gets chopped in half, which is amazing. Imagine coming back from being a boring, dry ass character and doing it after being chopped in half, literally chopped in half. The dark saber, Kenobi. All right, guys. That's the end of the stream. But real quick, I just want to do this because it is something that I'm always forgetting to do, and I feel terrible about it. So I'm going to do my best to be better. But our Patreon, if you can, feel free to support it. It's patreon.com/Crow of Judgment. But mostly, the reason why I want to talk about it is because I want to thank our patrons. We have Pledged by Maria, Pledged by Origami, Pledged by Lady Titania, and Pledged by Ziori Returns. Thank you so much for being a supporter of our Patreon page. I'm going to put it on the stream here in just a second. Because, again, it's something that I'm terrible at. And any support you want to give us, it's always a huge help, even if it's just $1. When you can't nut anymore, you go crazy. Yeah, he can't nut anymore. He can't. In fairness, neither can Vader, really. I mean, I guess maybe that part of him still works, but I think he got his dangle burned off. Maybe that's why they're so angry. Maybe that's why. That would make a lot of sense, actually. Soge, have a good day. Have a good day, Soge, everyone. Again, thank you guys. Thank you for all the support. Thank you for always tuning into the streams. And for $5, we'll hear you sing, right? J-Man, if you donate $5, if you become a $5 patron, I will promise you right now, when we stream on Sunday, I will sing. I will sing for $5. Okay, buddy? You become a patron for $5, I'll sing. All right, guys. I'm going to end the stream now. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you all understand why I love Star Wars so much. Why I didn't stream on last Sunday or yesterday, because I knew it was May the 4th. I knew it was the final episode of Clone Wars. I knew it was going to be amazing. And I wanted to do a stream talking about something that I really did love. And we'll be back to talking about Jim Soroka. I got a video coming out tomorrow talking about how orcs are apparently racist, and how it's racist if you see an orc and you think black people, because I mean that would be the actual racism. Anyways, guys, hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Sorry that there weren't any videos last week for the most part. It's closing at the store that I work at, and just became really, really tight. And I was, open to close and coming at home really late and just too exhausted to get the videos out. But we'll go back to posting up daily. So thank you so much for being supporters, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.